Shetland Isles. Southeast 5 or 6, veering southwest 4 or 5 later, then becoming variable 3 or less later. Rain or showers, moderate or good, occasionally poor.
Hello, welcome back to the little Welsh cottage here at the head of the Rhondda in South Wales. There's a lovely view. I'm making breakfast. I'm rather late at making breakfast today, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. It's a Monday morning, and Monday mornings in the cottage is always a very busy time. Mainly because it is rubbish collection day. And today was a black bag day. Now, it's taken a while for me to get my head around this. But every Monday, they collect food waste and recycling. But every third Monday, they collect black bags. But it's not every third Monday of the month. It's every third Monday. So you've got to find out where you are. If it was every third Monday, surely that would be a lot easier to work out. But it's not. So I do that old trick. Go outside and have a look at what the elderly people have done down the road, because you know they'll be on the ball. So today is a black bag day. Now I could put them out on a Sunday. Some people I see put them out on a Saturday, but I think it just makes the place look a bit untidy to me. So sometimes I'll put them out on a Saturday night, but more often than not, I'll put them out on a Monday morning. So I get up and they come, some weeks they can come at 8 a.m. Other weeks, like today, they still haven't been. And I think last week, I think they came at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But I like to get up about 6 o'clock and have that bit of a dash, have that spurt of getting your bags ready to get them out. So I've put some boxes out today, and my food recycling and a black bag. Oh, 2 or 3 black bags. Come and get your black bin bags. They're on offer till December. Do you remember that song? If you watched Phoenix Nights, the comedy, that's what I used to watch when I went to university. In fact, university has been on my head a lot recently. Over the last... I went in 2002, because I worked at the Commonwealth Games. That was 2002 in Manchester. But I lived in Salford, which is the city next door. So what's that? So 20 years ago, I went to university to do professional broadcast techniques and factual program documentary making, which I came away with a first. And over the last, well, ever since I left, I've had a letter each year saying, don't worry about paying us back. We'll tell you when it's time. Well, apparently the time is nigh, because I had a letter last week saying now is the time to start paying back your student loan. Even though for the last 20 years I've been saying to them, can I pay something towards it? And they've always gone, no, you're not earning over the threshold. But they wouldn't tell me what the threshold was. Well, they've told me now. So apparently you're in these bands 1 and 2. And the band that I'm in has started to drum up a tune. So I've been sent a bill for £10,000. Now, as far as I remember, my student loan was £8,000. So, as somebody said to me, £2,000 interest over 20 years is quite a good rate. So I've now set up a plan, because initially they wanted £500 a month. I thought that's the same that I pay. Well, that's the same that I used to pay on the gas and the electric. I am going to do a video at some point. It's just trying to find time, talking about my bills and how I've helped slightly got them down, because I've been here for 6 months now. So they want £500 a month, which if I paid that would then put me back into the poor street. So we've come to an arrangement, and that starts paying this month. Because I think that's why I've been a bit out of sorts for the past week, is trying to work out where the money's going to come from to pay for this. But it's fine, because I knew it was going to come at some point. But when every year you get the letter and it turns up and it goes, you owe us some money, but it's fine, don't do anything about it. And I've kept all those letters. And then, rather than sending a letter going, this year's going to be different, they just went, bang, you owe us £10,000 and we want it back now. So then I started thinking, was it worth it? And yes, there was the experience of going to university, but did it actually give me anything? Did it give me an advantage? And I'm not too sure, because from a career point of view, I was working in the TV industry before this. At the time I was working for ITV in Channel 4, Channel 5, and I could never get into the BBC. I always had an issue that I just couldn't get through the door. I did a few BBC tasks, because when I grew up, to work for the BBC was quite, the top thing. Obviously, over the years, it's an advantage now if you don't work for the BBC. So I went to university because I felt it was something that I had to do. And I felt that I needed to have that in order to get into the BBC. Because they do start the interviews off with, which university did you go to? And even with the degree, I think I did one film for the BBC, and I realised that we weren't a good match. With the BBC, you've got to be serious. Got to be serious. Even if you work on a comedy show, you've got to be serious in your job. Whereas with ITV and Channel 5, you were allowed to have a laugh during the day. So I worked on Good Morning Britain, and I did the nighttime shift, because if you did the daytime shift, there were so many producers involved that whatever you did during the day, by the time you got to see it the next morning on the TV, they would have changed it so much that it had nothing to do with what you'd actually done the day before and spent 5 hours doing. So I opted to do the nighttime shift, which started at 10 o'clock and finished at 10 o'clock in the morning, because then it was only you, your production team, and one producer, so there was far more chance of you having your stories put onto the TV. So when I worked there, I was in charge of monitoring royal deaths and the Olympic Games, which was quite funny because I have no interest in sport whatsoever. And every time Prince Philip got a cold, we'd have to phone up at 4 o'clock in the morning and tell the presenters, he's got a cold, we think he might die in the next few hours, so take your black tie out with you, just in case. And he never did, he let us down. And we would practice the Queen's funeral once a month. And I was in Waitrose the day that I found out the Queen had died, because she died at about 3:10 in the afternoon. And I was still in the WhatsApp group, so I found out before everybody else. And I did phone up and I said, do you want me to come in? But I'd been out of the loop for so long at that point that there was no point. And now they practice the king's funeral. So if you go to the Mall at a certain time, at a certain point in the month, usually about 3 o'clock in the morning, you can see them having a practice. And that's what the famous story was, that the Queen Mother was going to the toilet at 4 o'clock in the morning, and she looked out of the window and she saw them practicing her funeral, and she didn't like what she saw, so she changed a few of the plans. Where's my cap? I'm trying to find a cap to crack some eggs. So yes, was it really worth it? I'm not so sure from a career point of view. Obviously, if you hadn't worked in TV to begin with, then maybe. But when I was at university, I was working at Granada in Manchester. So I was working on programmes like Coronation Street. So the time that I was there, it was the Richard Hillman story when he was trying to bump off half the people in the street. I worked on A Question of Sport, and what was the other thing? Question of Sport, Eurovision Song Contest. What was that other one? University Challenge. So I could sit in my flat a few months later and answer all the questions on all these quiz shows, and my flatmates used to think, he's got a brain in that head, that lad. Because they didn't know that I used to work on them. Right, just get a little bit of butter. I've had to put the butter in the fridge because it's getting so warm, but today is a nice rainy day. So recently I've been going, so this bill has turned up, which threw me off a bit. And I've also had thoughts about, not about going back to London, but I am going back for a visit, but just about missing that life. And even though I didn't used to go into London that often, it was there on the doorstep, so the opportunity was there for me to go in if I wanted it. So I've been a bit melancholy over the last week, but I seem to be perfectly fine now. Right, I'm trying to save on the washing up today, so I'm making an omelette with mushroom. So it's a sort of breakfast, but it's like a brunch. And today, I want to clean that room downstairs, because sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees. And I was looking at it the other day, thinking this is starting to stress me out. And then I parted the trees and I saw the woods, and I'll tell you more about that when we get in there. So I don't watch TV that much now, but I did watch a bit of the news, and I've been looking at the riots in Manchester and places, and I was reminded that I think it's exactly 10 years ago this month that there were the riots in Brixton, because I lived in Brixton at the time. And I remember shops were closing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you'd go down the shop, you go down to the high street, and this wasn't just the main street in Brixton. This was like Herne Hill Way and Tulse Hill. And at 3 o'clock the shops would start to shut, and then by 4 o'clock they would have put the wood on top. And I was watching something, and a commentator said that it was the problem of social media, and that this was the first time this has happened. The social media had fueled all the angst. And I thought, no, we had this the last time. even in 2014. Was it 2000? Yes, it must have been 2014 when the Brixton riots were. And I remember, no, we had social media then. Because I did a few jobs where I was sent out to go and film the riots. And then cameramen were starting to be attacked, so you had to go a bit in disguise. In fact, thinking about it now, that was the same time that the volcano exploded. Do you remember? My flatmate had gone to Australia for a week, and he came back about 6 weeks later because there were no planes and he couldn't fly back because of this volcanic dust that was going all over the world. And what was so good was he had gone back to the airport on the day that he was due to fly back home, and they said, you can't, the world has stopped. And he said, well, that's the problem, I can't stop here because my hotel has thrown me out because I've only paid for a week. So the airline paid for him to stay in a 5-star hotel for 5 weeks. So he had a very good time. So when he came back to London, everything was over. So I don't know a lot about what's going on because, like I said, I don't tend to watch the news now. But in contrast, I did see on social media that in Wales, because it's the Eisteddfod, which is a music festival to celebrate the Welsh language and everything to do with Wales. And I was going to go, but I can't be bothered. But they have this thing called the chair, where they'll give this crafted chair to somebody of note within Welsh culture. And a friend of mine is going to be presented with the chair on Friday. So I was trying to get some tickets, but I can't. So I will watch it on the TV. But there were a group of people. I got something in my eye. There were a group of people waiting for the train. And some people think that this tradition died years ago, but it's still. If you get a group of Welsh people together, and they might have had a drink in them, they'll whip up a song. So I saw on social media that there were a load of people waiting on the train station, and while they were there, they had a bit of community singing. And then when the train came, they all jumped on the train and they continued with the community singing. So it's not just something that you see on these old films. I've been on the last bus here, but it's typical, it's always happened on the day that I didn't have my camera. I was on the last bus home, and if there's a few people there, somebody will start to hum, and all of a sudden somebody else will start to speak the words, and before you know it, the whole bus is singing Calon Lan or another Welsh song. I've just put a bit of balsamic vinegar into my eggs. I do love a bit of balsamic. So I thought, what a contrast. On the one hand, you're on Twitter, or X as it's called, and you see the riots in England, and then you flick and you see people of every colour and creed singing together on a train station. And you think to yourself, like I think when I look at this, beautiful. Right, my cup of tea's done. I've started to get used to this cooker now, that when it starts getting really hot, I just switch it off and I can cook for at least another 5 minutes before it cools down again. Right, I need to go out and check to see if the bin men have been, because with the little green boxes that you put your food in, if you don't go out, the wind will blow your bin down the street, and then you've got to spend the rest of the day trying to find where your bin has gone. Now, I do like this sound after you've put a hot pan into the water. Oh, well, that wasn't as good as it has been in the past, but anyway. Right, I'm gonna have a cup of tea and my breakfast, and I'll catch up with you in a bit. I've decided to send my bread maker back to Amazon. I've been trying to find this book. It's the Biodynamic Calendar book for 2024. I'll have to put my order in for next year. In fact, I might do that in a moment. Do you know, I'm still finding bits of straw. I move a box and another bit of straw appears. So the desk is upstairs, and I've been thinking the other day, when is this room going to get finished? And I want to get it finished sooner than later. And it dawned on me, I could just take the boxes and put them into the box room and then sort them out at my leisure. That's what I mean. Sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees. This is a hot water bottle that you put into the microwave and put it around your neck. I haven't got a microwave, but I'm thinking I could keep it as a doorstop to keep the cold out. Oh, I can't get down on my knees like I used to. Oh. Let me just reassess that camera. I'm thoroughly soaked. So I thought I'll just put the heating on. So if I just sit here, it'll warm my back up. So I thought I may as well just go through this box down here rather than take it upstairs. Where did I get this from? No idea. But it's Dig for Victory video. It's 2 videos that show all the old info commercials that they put out during the war for the Dig for Victory campaign. What are these? Socks. This looks like a very old jumper. Okay, that can go in the bin because it's a bit tatty. See, I am still finding bits of straw all over the place. Ah, this is where it got to. I have found my cauldron. There you go. And I also found a stone. I went through a phase of collecting stones. I can't remember where this stone came from. This could have actually come from the river, and I took it to London all those decades ago. Ah, now this is a memory. This was one of the best books that ever came out. And it's not the traditional gardening book, it is a jotter. So the idea was that you looked at the runner bean page and then you ticked which runner bean varieties you were going to grow for that year. Then you could put your little notes by the side of it. This isn't my original one. I saw this on eBay and I bought quite a few of them because I love them. What's this? Oh yeah, this is an old book I found of my father's, where he used to do a few poems. So it's an entire book of poetry and a bit of information about when he used to travel around the world with the Navy. I might keep that down here. This is why I don't want to just throw things out, because you never know what's in a box. Because I used to have this attitude of, if you don't know what's in the box, then you don't know what you're about to get rid of, so just throw it. Ah, look at that. This was my pass when I worked at the Commonwealth Games in Manchester back in 2002, I think it was. And that's the upgrade, when I was upgraded and I had an access all area. So I'll keep that for the memories. Now, I've just found some of my cameras, and if you remember, I did say I was going to give these away, and that is still the plan. I just haven't had time yet to go through and find the leads. So there are one or two people that I have promised these to. So that is something to go on the list. This is the camera that I did a lot of my early videos on. And they still work, it's just over the years you want to upgrade things. Do you remember that? Miffy. There's actually a shop in Covent Garden which is called the Miffy Shop. And that is all that they have there. Well, I could do with a mouse mat. This was one of the shows that I worked on at ITV. And this was something that I used to keep my crystals on, which I bought from Glastonbury. I bought another item with drawers in, but that one is starting to fall apart. So this seems to be a lot of very, very beneficial stuff. I wonder if I could still get into these. Look at these. These are my old suede shoes. So when I used to go out filming, I used to put these on. A tape measure. I've been trying to find a tape measure for days. Right. I'm thinking I'm going to stop here because this seems to be full of a lot of stuff that I would like to keep. So, rather than putting it out all over the floor here, I am going to move the box upstairs. But I'll keep these downstairs, give them a bit of a brush. I still need to finish the stairs. I'm waiting for a new pot of paint to turn up. Oh, there you go. Oh. Right, I'll just put them in here. Like I said, when I've got a few hours to spare, like on Boxing Day, I can come and sort them out. Ooh, I need a cup of tea after all that. So remember this plant I bought from Bella last week, I think it was? It said on the instructions that in the night it closes. So I didn't know what that meant, whether the leaves closed like that. But what actually happens is, in the night, the plant just very slightly closes up in that direction. Then in the day, you come down in the morning and it's all out like a fan. And I love it. It's glorious. So I've given it a really good watering, as you saw. So I shouldn't have to water this now for over a week. Well, it's just gone 6 o'clock and I'm trying to get back into the routine of having food at certain points of the day, because I've slightly gone off the boil for the last fortnight. So I'm going to have a nice cup of tea now, and maybe those frozen salmon. Do you remember I bought those from Waitrose? And I haven't tried frozen salmon before, so I might do that with some healthy sweet potato and a few green beans. But first of all, it's going to be a cup of tea. So thanks for joining me, and I'll catch up with you on the next one. So from me until then, bye for now.